Hello, and thank you for choosing OKTV's Alternatives, a public access television forum that invites people within our local area with ideas and viewpoints to challenge the minds of our viewers and to foster a mindset that dares to defy today's conventional wisdom by seeking natural health, clarity, and true purpose in our daily lives. I'm Al DiGiacomo, your host for tonight's program. In his youth, our guest worked on a farm in Pompton Plains where he developed a joy of plants and has recently completed studies at Dominion Herbal College in British Columbia, Canada. And today he continues an intense study of American, European, Russian, Ayurvedic, and traditional Chinese medicinal herbs. Please welcome Terry GELNER. Terry, thank you for taking the time to share some of your knowledge with us.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
Wonderful, wonderful. Let's talk about tea. Where and when was tea discovered?
All tea was discovered in China. China is the breeding ground of the first tea plant. All
tea centers around just one plant.
Just one plant, and that one plant, for thousands of years, was tried to have been kept in China. The Chinese didn't want it to leave. This way they can control the plant.
They kind of knew on how much it would be worth if it propagated throughout the world?
Well, actually, the Dutch found the value of tea first, okay? And they're the ones who tried to control it the most. And the British stole a couple of plants and transplanted them to India and other parts of the world. So the secret was out. Everybody could get their hands on tea and grow tea.
And how long ago was this?
The Europeans first discovered tea roughly about Marco Polo's time.
But the Chinese had known about tea, the tea tree, or?
Oh, since the Emperor Qin, the founder of China. We're talking 10, 11,000 years ago.
Boy, that's fantastic. And was it by accident? Was it through
Yes, it was.
Natural intelligent discovery, or?
Yes, it was. It was totally by accident. It was a couple of leaves flew from a tea tree and into Emperor Emperor Qin's water. At that time, they knew boiling water was medicinal. It made you healthy. So all the emperors had all their water boiled before it was served to them. And these tea leaves drifted into the pot and created the beverage we know as tea. And they enjoyed the flavor of it so much that they cultivated the plant and set it as a royal plant for the first 1,000, 2,000 years.
That is truly fascinating. So there's only one type of tea plant.
Yes.
And how do we get the different varieties of these three major teas that we have in front of here?
Well, to begin with, all tea starts out as green tea, like this one here. This one here is called gunpowder, and it's called gunpowder because it's rolled, the leaves are rolled upon themselves and then into a ball, like a little musket pellet, okay? Very good, very strong tea. Most of your antioxidant properties are in this one, okay? And how the flavors change are where the tea is grown specifically. Chinese teas give a more earthy character, where they're a heartier tea. If anybody's been a football player and ever gotten a mouthful of grass, you'll understand what I mean by earthy tasting tea. Whereby Japanese and Taiwanese and Indian teas have more oils still in the leaves, so it gives them more of a character of a flower. And that's where you get the slogan, floral character.
Floral character. Now, you were saying about the black tea on how the black tea acquires its character.
Okay, black tea. Green tea goes from green tea to oolong to black.
And is this oolong? Do we have oolong?
We don't have an oolong, but the closest we have is algahalzalan. It's a
mouthful.
It's a mouthful. It's a long leaf tea, full leaf, that grows in Ceylon. the big island to the right of India. And it unfolds an oil, very a flowery, earthy character. It's a blend. The Egyptians buy a lot of this tea and drink it specifically every day. Your Moroccan mint tea is made with this as a base. It's a wonderful tea. Excellent, very low price. It can rival a lot of the English teas.
And the third sample we have here is?
The third sample is a blend. It's a blend of green and black and vanilla beans.
Vanilla?
Yes, it's grown in India. It's blended in India. It's scented with German essences in India. And it's shipped out of the port of Calcutta. So I've called it Calcutta Delight. It's a wonderful tea. It's a good afternoon tea, quick pick-me-up, maybe with a piece of pie.
Now, green tea and the black tea, they all contain natural caffeine?
Natural caffeine. The lowest caffeine is in the green tea, about 30 milligrams a cup. When it graduates and it's fermented to black tea, by fermenting, it's a process whereby the tea goes from, is dampened and then allowed to age. In a hot house, it ages faster, and it goes from a green color to a black color through an oxidation process. The black tea will have up to 90 milligrams of caffeine in a cup.
So now, other places where tea proliferates, places like Kenya.
Yes.
And India.
Yes.
What are some of the other major producers of tea in the world?
Turkey, Russia, the Himalayas, Pakistan.
So tea has made a wide migration in the past 12,000 years.
Oh, and I forgot America. America has their own tea plantation.
Oh, do they?
Yes.
Where is that centrally? Where would the locations in the United States be?
Charleston, South Carolina.
Really? Okay.
And it's a good tea. It's a mild everyday tea. Excellent for morning or afternoon.
So how powerful in the past 12,000 years did the commerce of tea become?
Oh, very powerful.
Tell us about that.
People traded, for example, this here is a China brick, and it's pressed black tea. It's using fannings and powder or dust. And what people did with this tea was they traded with it. And if you'll see, there's coupons on the back. And those coupons were broken off as the trade routes throughout Asia went. And if you'll remember in your history, we also found out that Asia traded salt bricks. And these coupons represent a value, as the salt bricks used to represent a value. This tea would have been worth its weight in oil or salves or other spices and traded accordingly. And it's pressed with a figure of where it comes from, an ornamental value of China and its value in China.
Does the tea have to be dampened or moistened before it's pressed into that form?
Very, very mild amount of moisture is used to press this tea. They're using stone weights at that time to do all the pressing. If you'll think of a grist mill whereby it's got two rolling stones on top of each other, well, just imagine the weight of, say, 4 grist mill weights compressing on forms and to make this brick.
Now you were mentioning where the teas are produced in some, for lack of a better term, third world countries. Is there a possibility that there are certain pesticides or certain manufacturing practices that would not be up to American standards?
Well, third world countries cannot really afford the expensive pesticides that the United States can afford to lay on its fields. They're still using cow dung, horse manure, whatever
Natural organic
natural
fertilizers?
organic fertilizers they can derive from the animals in the area. Also, they're just constantly working the land and making sure that it's kept in optimum performance just with the plants that they have. Again, they can't afford a lot of the chemical pesticides.
So it's almost better.
Oh, it's
And
much better.
taking less of a chance than something that's grown in a more mechanized.
Yes, because in a more mechanized, you want to make sure that your food source, your bread basket, puts out as much as you possibly can get from that acre. So chemically, we're going to stimulate the land. So therefore,
Wouldn't that also lend to more conformity inside the teas,
conformity.
as far as the character of the tea?
Since they've been at it longer than we have, a certain plant grown in a certain hillside with shade cover or ample rain or elevation all produce a certain character. The higher the tea grows, the more of a bouquet, more of a flowery bouquet you'll get in the tea. The Himalayan tea is excellent, has a wonderful character, wonderful bouquet, excellent taste, very mild appearance in the cup. You would think you were drinking very weak tea, but it tastes phenomenal. Lowland tea from Assam or Solanian plains, the lower down in elevation you go, the more robust, the more earthy the character becomes. The higher up is more flowery, more gentle. Tea can range on your palate anywhere from sweet and oily to dry and astringent. And
The major tea producers, I'm talking your major name teas, how do they keep that uniform taste?
most of the major tea companies are blended teas. They'll take anywhere from 5 to 15 or more types of tea and blend them together. And in blending them, they have a process that is their own proprietary process, whereby they extract some oils and maybe add in other oils to keep the blend the same. As if you were going to have the tea here in New York, will be the same as you would have it in San Francisco.
So obviously have master blenders and tea tasters with extremely sensitive palates to.
Yes. Hypersensitivity with the tongue and the nose is an excellent gift for this business, to have a master blender with that.
Now let's talk about some of the healthful aspects of drinking things like green teas and black teas. What are some of the major health proponents that you can receive by drinking natural teas?
Well, just recently we've learned that green tea is high in antioxidants and it's an excellent blood purifier. It helps to keep the cholesterol down in the blood. The Chinese have proven it, the Japanese, the Taiwanese, most of the Asians have proven that as a fact.
Is there certain with vitality, or are there certain minerals or vitamins that are contained in tea?
Green tea is high in natural fluoride, which is good for your teeth and good for your bones, as opposed to other fluorides which are put in toothpaste, which may not be as good.
And again, for vitality, is that from the caffeine or from things that would purify toxins out of one's body? Or
green tea will help to clean the blood, keep the cholesterol down. It is believed today, I've heard off of a local health channel, that green tea will help, if you have 2 cups a day, will help keep you from getting cancer. Now, this is what I've heard. Has it been proven and documented by the FDA or the AMA? I'm not sure that it has.
I've heard that it's because these tests are not given that they really don't know some of these answers. Hopefully we'll have some more testing that can actually quantify some of these, and people can pick up on some of these health tips and maintain a healthier lifestyle. Now, so you're saying that only 2 cups a day of green tea would give you these health benefits?
Yes.
That is fascinating. Now, I'd like to move over into something that brings us back to this this brick of tea. But in the United States, which is more popular, coffee or tea?
Well, in the world, water is first, tea is second, coffee is third. In the United States, on the East Coast, coffee is king. Okay, there's no doubt about it. But in the South and through the Midwest and on the West Coast, I would say it's tea. Tea has it.
Was that the influence from the mother country, from Britain?
Oh, okay.
During the colonial days? Or?
Yes. When we had the Boston Tea Party and we threw tea overboard because we didn't want double taxation, we basically said, okay, we need a caffeine source. The next available caffeine source was South America, where coffee originated. So we started drinking coffee up here like mad. And it's carried through all the way to this day, whereby in the South, they maintained strong trading ties with England.
In a more agrarian culture?
Right. The cotton went out, the pitch from the pine trees went out, and what came back was furniture, tea, and other goods and services that we couldn't get up here because they maintained strong ties with England.
Now, I can understand that, but I always thought that the cowboys in the rugged prairie and out west would be sitting around with their little tin cup, drinking their really cup of muddy coffee or something. Is this not true?
Well, let's look at it logically,
okay?
If you're a cowboy, you only have 2 saddlebags on the back, and you only can carry so much stuff, plus your bedding, which sits right behind your backside, okay? If you're going to have coffee, now coffee is a green bean. It needs to be roasted, okay? Back in those days, did you have anything to roast it with? In the short allotment of time, say between sunrise and 6 o'clock in the morning to make your coffee? No. Then did you have something to grind it with? No, because you didn't have a chuck wagon with you, all right? Now, most of the settlers that moved from the South across the United States to California took with them everything that they had, including tea, which was a major source. Now, it's easier to take a chunk of tea off the brick and put it in your coffee pot, okay, of the American Plains, which we can also call as a teapot. Because once you heated that water, you removed it from the fire, put in your chunk, and let it steep 3 to 5 minutes. And you poured off your tea. You had your instant caffeine to pick you up. You had less to play with and mess with, no beans to worry about, and it was easier to clean up.
I guess that would be. Also, with the type of food that they were eating out on the prairies and out on the plains, which would be better for their health? Would it be coffee or would it be tea?
Oh, it would be far greater health having having tea. The coffee depletes the body's minerals and vitamin sources. It just basically wipes it right out. For all the vitamins you put into your body, coffee helps deplete and take them out. Whereby tea has a little bit of vitamin C, a little bit of vitamin D, minerals, the health. There's really not much you can say that's bad for you with tea.
If you were to store this for 6 months at a time, would anything happen to the tea? Would it deteriorate? Would it become stale? Or?
If you stored this in a container, say a tin container or a mason jar, and you left it out of the refrigerator in a dark pantry or a cold cellar, this would be great. This would store for, I've heard some people have these tea bricks for 30 or more years.
Wow. Wow, that is truly interesting. So we've learned that it helped their digestion.
Yes.
Because of the fatty foods that they'd been eating out on the plains. How is tea used along with food in cooking? Is there any relationship between tea and food and cooking?
Well, as far as cooking goes, very easily, you can take a tea like alcohozoline, okay, a black tea, and smoke it. Put it in a steel pan in your broiler section of the oven. Add a little bit of water to it, just enough to give it a smoking effect. And then throw in some roast beef or steak, predominantly beef, okay? And smoke the beef in your oven with tea.
And what kind of character would that give to the dish?
It gives it a robust, smoky flavor, and it depends on the tea you use. The nature of the tea, the oils in the tea, will go and adhere directly to the meat. So if you're using, say, lapsang souchong, which is smoked with oak chips, well, you're going to get an oaky type of taste to your meat. And if you like cooking with mesquite chips or cedar chips or
yeah.
other,
Sure.
all right, you'll get the same effect in your oven.
Interesting, interesting. Wouldn't smoke up your kitchen or anything, would it?
No, no, it's fantastic.
Well, that's great. I'd like to talk about how the leaves are harvested off the tea tree and the character that is come about. And I believe this is called the flushing process.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that, Terry.
Okay. First flush teas are usually the tea that is picked. The two top leaves and the bud are picked after winter. That's the first flush. Now, the tea has been sitting over winter trying to gather its strength, and it's put out these first two leaves in a bud as new growth. And that first flush is pulled off. In some opinions, not mine, okay, I don't think that's the best the plant can do. I think after the tea has been allowed to grow again and produce two more leaves and another new bud, that second flush, that second picking, is the best tea.
Kind of, it's got its exercise.
Well, it's
out of the first growth.
Right. It's been allowed to mature, and then subsequent pickings are third flush, fourth flush, and fifth flush. The tea tree begins to weaken, and you get a lesser quality. It's actually the second flush that gives you the best.
Very interesting. Now, as we come into the last few minutes of the show, Terry, what is the correct way to brew a cup of tea?
Okay, fresh tea, you need a teaspoon to a 6-cup pot of fresh boiled water, and let it steep 3 minutes if it's a black tea, 4 minutes if it's a green tea, and any longer than that and your tea will get too strong.
And what's wrong with a cup of tea that's too strong?
It has too much tannic acid. You'll see on the top a chemical residue or colors in the water. Your tea is too strong, has too much caffeine and tannic acid, and that'll upset your stomach, and you don't want that. But again, it must be fresh tea. Old tea, you'll need a teaspoon per cup for old tea. Tea that's a year or more older.
I see. Now, I understand that with teas from India and teas from China, to sweeten them, you would use...
Okay. A tea from China, predominantly with its earthy character, goes great with cane sugar, especially white processed cane sugar. The two marry well and taste really great. Indian teas, with their oily floral character, go better with honey. It just brings out the bouquet so much more, because if you think honey and flowers, they go together. And lemons you can use with African teas or Ceylonian or Assam or Indian teas. I would say that would be the best blends.
Well, okay, finally, Terry, what is the main quality to look for when someone is searching for a tea?
What do you want? What type of taste do you want? Do you want it to be dry? Do you want it to be sweet? Do you want it to have a floral bouquet? You want to make sure you can get it as fresh as possible. You shouldn't have to pay a lot for a good tea, a good fresh tea. So it's really up to you, and your shopkeeper, whoever he is, must know his product. try not to buy from people who just turn the key and open the door, and try to find a good quality tea company that has an on-site blender.
Well, great. Terry, I want to thank you for giving us a broad-based knowledge about tea and the natural benefits of teas. And I hope our viewers at home may find that this information is helpful and in searching for ways to live a better life. Terry GELNER has been our guest. If you have any questions about tea, please call the number on your screen at the end of this program. And if you would like to share your talent and your ideas on this forum, contact us. We'd love to hear from you. So that's all we have for now. And I want to thank you for taking that giant step towards nonconformity by watching alternatives. For OKTV, I'm Al DiGiacomo.